I want everybody to say hi to Tag from Life Done Free. You guys,
Hi, everybody.
welcome back. Tag, thanks for coming back. I really enjoyed the last video we made on this.
Yeah, I actually got some hate mail.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
I I didn't get any hate mail.
I got one hate mail.
I'm
That's
just
okay.
I must not be pushing the right buttons. So anybody, if this is the first time you've joined us, we are doing a discussion on the 28 principles of liberty as found in the book The 5,000 Year Leap. And last week we covered the first principle, and tonight we're going to see how far we can go. I'm not quite sure. Um, I've got notes here, so if I'm looking down, it's not that I'm ignoring everybody. It's just I'm trying to keep my thoughts straight and just keep us on track. One thing I do want to do before we start, Tag. You said something last week. You said something last week that hit one of my pet peeves,
Okay.
and I want to clarify something here.
Okay.
And it's 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 a kind of it's more of a religious thing than anything. But you
Okay.
were talking about the Ten Commandments, and you mentioned the "Thou shalt not kill," and
Mhm.
this is one of my pet peeves. So I had a pastor that studied the Bible in its original Aramaic and Greek translation, and he made a point that in the original verbiage, it was not "Thou shalt not kill," it was "Thou shalt not murder." And
Mhm.
I think it's a very subtle but a distinct distinction there
Mhm.
that we go through, because if you say "Thou shalt not kill," then that negates a lot of what the Bible says. I mean, God tells us that we have to defend ourselves, and he sends the Jews out to kill their
Mhm.
enemies, to save the tribes.
Mhm.
So I think it's important that whenever we talk about that we make the distinction, is "Thou shalt not murder," and it's all about the intent. And I
Yeah.
know
So, do you
it's
think this is part of 1984 and new speak and changing the definition?
um you know what I think, if
I
I
didn't mean to derail. Sorry, man.
no, seriously, if I remember correctly, it was the King James version that made that change, and it was
Mhm.
it was because people would understand "Thou shalt not kill" versus "Thou shalt not murder," and that's my recollection of it from years ago. But that's just one of my things, you know.
Yep. Got it.
So I just wanted to point that out to everybody, so that we weren't getting sideways with anything.
Yep.
So let's get into the next principle. So the second principle that we're going to talk about says, a free people cannot survive under a republican constitution unless they remain virtuous and morally strong. And what do you think that is, Tag? Why do you think they came up with that principle and worded it that way?
Oh my goodness, man. There is so much to this. I mean, what stops somebody from paying off special interests?
Yep.
Virtues and morals, right? What stopped people from insider trading? Right? It wasn't just the old hag up there on the hill. Her husband just got in a whole bunch of trouble because he bought a whole bunch of chip stock, and
Hmm.
then the Chips Act passes, the Senate, and so if you're not virtuous and you don't have morals, then you're going to fall into the temptation.
Exactly.
And that's referring to as far as the leaders. And if you're not virtuous, you don't have morals as a voter, then you're not electing those same types of people.
Well, and I think it goes a little bit deeper than that. I think you're absolutely correct, but it goes a little bit deeper, because the more morally corrupt a society gets, the more it needs a master. Ben
Well,
Franklin,
the bigger the government gets.
exactly. I found a quote from Ben Franklin, and I thought fit this very well. He said, "The only virtuous, or I'm sorry, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As a nation becomes corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters." And we see that in the big cities now. I mean, that's proven every single day. I mean, out in the rural communities where we live, there's not really that much need for policing and interference. But if you live in a big city, Chicago, there were 4 murders and 30 some shootings this weekend in Chicago, and that's just one big blue city. What about the rest of them combined?
Yeah, but I think that more has to do with religion, right? To me, at least to me, it does, which would be, I guess, the third principle.
Yep.
as we get on talking about, you know, just how that impacts, government and those kind of things. But I mean, I think lack of morals does increase the need for government, and all we got to do is look at the size of the government we have, and it tells you a whole lot about the morals of the people that are here.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is kind of off topic. Um, but it's regarding this principle. They specifically mention a Republican Constitution and not a democracy, and I think that's important. Anytime that comes up in conversation, we need to hammer that fact home that America is not a democracy.
Yeah.
We are a constitutional republic. We use the democratic form of voting, but it's a constitutional republic. I'm sorry. And that's evident in the fact that a state like Rhode Island has just as much power in Congress through the senatorial process as a state like California or New York. And it's really important. I think it's going to be more important as we go along in time, because the narrative is, they're threatening our democracy, or the democracy is in danger because of the way they're behaving. And we need to make sure that we're controlling the narrative and not letting them dictate to us what it is. And I'm sorry, I realize that's kind of going off topic, but
No, I actually think that's interesting. I think the whole democracy thing is an interesting word that it's now turning into. It's not the democracy, it's the special interest of the smaller groups that dictate what all the larger groups do. So it's like the exact opposite of democracy. But gee, I think it's important that for those who don't know that we are a constitutional republic, to define what is a republic. I mean, I think it matters. I don't know. I mean, I would assume that everybody watching this would know, but it's not just 51% like a corporate boardroom, or a shareholder meeting. It's not how it works.
Yep.
And the power of the government's held by the people, and we give power to our elected officials that we elect, which gets back to the your whole beginning statement of why does it matter? Well, because we're sending people to make laws, and we're sending people to fight on our behalf, and we've elected these people to serve us. And then obviously too, the representatives are responsible for helping all the people in the country, like you just talked about, and not just a few. And this is what separates us from that democracy. But I think it's important people know that that's a huge distinction.
Oh yeah, my favorite allegory for the democracy versus republic is the Second Amendment argument, where a democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner,
Right.
and a republic with the Second Amendment is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner, and the sheep is armed.
Right.
And that's my favorite one. I realize it's kind of simple, but I like it.
I like it too.
And I think what you were talking about, I think is a really great segue into principle number 3. And that's the most promising method of securing a virtuous people is to elect virtuous leaders. First off, I had to go look up securing a virtuous people, because it's kind of archaic way of saying it. At least for me, it is. And from my readings, securing a virtuous people literally means creating the type of government that will not infringe on people's rights. And man, we've done a bad job at that lately. And I think the main point of this one is we can't legislate our way into a fair and just government. I think that's probably the best way to say it, because if we don't elect moral and virtuous people, then we get the type of government that we've got right now. And quite honestly, Tag, and you can disagree if you want, but I think we deserve as a nation, or I'm sorry, not a nation, a country, big distinction. We deserve the type of government we get by voting for it. So,
we deserve exactly what we got.
Yeah.
I mean, this goes all the way back to giving participation medals. And this goes all the way back, even way, way, way before that. I mean, we're getting exactly what we deserve. And there's an interesting quote inside that book that says, we cannot have a consistent and stable government when the dominant party can arbitrarily expand the government powers to address whatever necessity that it perceives.
Oh man, that's profound in its simplicity.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not pointing at one side of the aisle or the other either. It's pointing at the
Mm-mm.
government in general.
Yeah, and I think that's a super important thing to dispel right here too. Is there Republicans, Democrats, blah 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 blah. Let's just agree to call them Republicrats, and we'll get on with our lives. I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't like any of them.
Yeah. There's some of them, there's some of them that I appreciate the efforts that they do, but they're not doing very much. We
No.
had, they just voted to allow Finland and Sweden into NATO, and only one senator voted against it. And that was Josh Hawley from Missouri,
Yeah.
and what's that say? What's that say about our the lockstep that they're in?
Mm-hmm. Gee, I can tell you, I've sat in a lot of boardrooms, and I'm going to tell you that in most cases, the decision's already made before the board meeting.
Yeah.
99% of the time, that's how, because the lobbying's already gone on. It's gone on behind the scenes. That's exactly what happens in Washington. They're the parties are behind the scenes trying to, get their vote, this vote, that vote, get this, get that. And the decision's already made long before us, the American people, who are to be the rightful ruler, before we know anything.
Exactly. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but it used to be called Build Back Better, but they named it something else this time. And it just passed because Joe Manchin from West Virginia said he would support it. Came out that the reason why he supported it was because Chuck Schumer gave him some concessions on oil rights and oil drilling licenses and stuff that would all benefit his state. They knew what the outcome was going to be before they even went in, and principle number three, the one thing that I thought really applies to it, and in a very, very essential way, is the government itself as an institution is neither good nor bad. The government exists in the society and the culture that creates it. And if the society and the culture is corrupt, then the institutions that govern that society are going to be corrupt. And that goes directly back to principle number 2, as far as I'm concerned. If we as a people can't be morally virtuous and just, then we can't elect politicians. And I hate calling them leaders, because they're doing anything but leading. They're doing anything but leading. But it's corrupt because the society, and I know that, God, it sounds so trite. You hear that all the time. Seriously, you hear it all the time, but it's true. And I think I was looking at it, and it struck me. You realize there's 27 grievances in the Declaration of Independence that they laid out the case that what damage was done by an immoral or unjust leader. I couldn't help but think, and I was like, man, we should get a panel together and get some of the most radical freedom people that we know and discuss those grievances. I think that would be really great TV right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Samuel Adams said, neither the wisest constitution nor the wisest laws will secure the liberty and happiness of a people whose manners are universally corrupt. And yeah, I don't know how to say it any better than that,
Well, and go take that. Did you read the rest of that quote?
Yeah, I've got it actually right here in front of me. It says,
so do I. It's funny. You've
Okay.
got it too. But
Yeah, go ahead.
he went on. Go ahead and tell him what the entire quote says.
He therefore is the truest friend of the liberty of his country, who tries most to promote its virtues, and who will not suffer a man to be chosen into any office of power and trust who is not wise and virtuous man.
What's that say about the voter base in this country?
Yeah, I tell you something interesting about 3. I was doing a little bit of research, and I read an article, and I don't think I could probably quote it exact, but I can quote it pretty close, that I think since the year 2000, 38 Republicans and 40 Democrats have been convicted of sexual crimes. Talking about our elected leaders. That's not virtuous.
No. And some of those people are still in Congress. Some of those people are still
Yeah,
in Congress,
a good chunk of them are still in Congress.
you
You
know.
know, the two-party system contributes to the corruption because it allows the system to pick the candidate.
Well, you know what, Tag, we can blame the system all we want, but the quote you read from Sam Adams, you know, will not suffer a man chosen into any office of power and trust who is not wise and virtuous. So the the people that vote these people in, you know, and these some of those people have gone through reelection. I used to know some of their names, and I since then I forgot it. But they vote these people back into office time and time again. You know, and it's not just the sexual offenses. It's their insider trading. It's the DUIs. You know,
And you
and
and I voted them in.
yeah, I have voted for people. You know that
I mean, regardless of whether you voted for them or not, we didn't take a stand early enough that allowed it to be where it is.
exactly.
We didn't get involved at the school board early enough before they started teaching all this crap they're teaching in schools today. We didn't get started early enough in the political system or the banking system, the finance system. I mean, on and on and on and on and on. You know, so we caused this. We're getting exactly what we deserve.
You know, as much as I hate to agree with you, I do. I think
Mhm.
you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
We're getting what we deserve. You know, and folks, if you're out there and it seems like I'm pointing fingers, just remember, for every finger I got pointing at somebody else, I got three of them pointing back at me. So I'm you know, I realize that by my inaction, or even
I-
I actually voted for somebody that turned out to be a real scumbag, and it bothers me. And he's running over in the state of Missouri right now for one of the senators' positions, and there's a really good possibility that he's going to get in. And it bothers me that I supported that man back when he was running for governor on the Missouri side. You know, so you
Yeah,
know,
gee, I for years and years and years I hid. You know, I lived my life and I've lived this lifestyle for many, many moons, you know, but I hid behind the scenes and I hid behind the scenes because it was safe and I wanted to protect my family and I didn't want to influence this and I just wanted to live my life. And it was that very attitude that many preppers and homesteaders or whatever take that got us to where we are today. I wish I would have stood up a long time ago.
yep, yep. I'm in the same boat, man. I was not involved enough when my kids were young. You know,
Yep.
and well, and you know what the really sad thing is, that we were the parents when my kids were in high school and junior high. We were those parents because we were so involved. And looking back on it, we weren't involved nearly enough. We let a lot of stuff slide,
Yep.
you know, and that all goes back to the very root of that third principle. You know, or I'm sorry, the second principle. You know, if we're not morally virtuous, then we can't elect leaders that are virtuous, and we get what we got.
Yeah, but gee, how do you tell who's virtuous?
Well, and you know what? That's a great question. You know, if I had the answer to that, Tag, we would not be sitting here having the conversation because I would be rich.
Man, it's hard. They lie to you at every turn on the TV and watch for 30 seconds and you're being lied to and manipulated in every single case. I mean, you know, I used to really take pride in the fact that I could read a human being. And you know, I come up in that industry and I was great at it, and I don't know anymore, man.
Yeah,
You know, I look at the candidates. It's funny, my mom calls me before every election and she says, "Tell me who the good ones are."
yeah.
Got
Well,
me.
you and I live in a state where they just had a referendum on a constitutional amendment uh, on abortion,
Mhm.
and I was shocked at the amount of disinformation from
Mhm.
from both sides of that argument, not just one side, but both sides of the argument. And I know people that consider themselves conservatives and pro-life that could not vote on that amendment. They could not. It was a yes or no, and from my standpoint, yes was good, no was bad. They could not bring themselves to vote for yes because of all the disinformation that was out
Mhm.
there. You
Yeah.
know, and I did that video a couple of days ago where I extolled everybody to get informed. But you're right. I mean, how can you be informed whenever they're omitting facts, or they're making suppositions that are completely outrageous that sound reasonable? You know, it's just it's hard, and That's one of the reasons why as a voting people, we need to be as diligent as we can, you know. And like I said, if I had the answer, we wouldn't be having this conversation,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I don't know if there is an answer to it anymore. I mean, I think we all, lost our courage a long, long, long time ago, and it's damn near too late. I mean, I think we can affect the local stuff, the school boards, we can start to work that angle, to get a little stronger. We talk about building a community, building a town, some smaller footprint, but I don't have any faith at all that my vote matters at all at the federal level. None, zero.
I'm in the same boat. But I think you bring a really good point. Um, think local, act local, because that's where change is going to come. And that's the reason why the government and the liberals are trying to push everything up to the federal level, because they know at the local level they can't control it as much. And
Not just the liberals, G. It's all of them.
well, okay,
It's Republicans, it's Democrats, it's liberals, it's conservatives, it's all of them. They're all out there to take what you worked your ass off for, so they can live themselves a better life because they're greedy and they got their hands in everybody's pockets. All.
okay, just for the record, when I say liberal, I mean anybody that's not freedom minded.
Yeah.
Anybody
Sorry,
that's trying to expand the government, because I hate that term rhino, because call them what they are. They're liberals.
Mhm.
They're trying. They're actually, I don't know if liberals is the right name for them, but they're trying to take freedom away, and they're trying to take stuff that's not theirs.
They're not trying, they did it.
Well, yes, they did.
You tell me another time in history where there's more slavery than now. I mean, you can talk about that the slavery was more extreme back then, right? Because of the death and the way those poor people were treated, and all of those kind of things. But man, they bring you up that you're, the American dream is to, go get a 40-hour a week job, work there for 40 years, get a house, get a 30-year mortgage, pay 4 times than it's worth. When it's all said and done, you're going to retire. They're going to give you a gold watch. They're going to tell you to piss off. 4 years later, you're going to go to Social Security for 4 years later. You're going to be dead. The government got all your money in your house. They got everything. It's all said and done. Wash, rinse, repeat. Be a good, citizen, and off you go.
Okay, so you just black-pilled us. What's the solution?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the hard part, because this thing is so far along. I don't, I think and we're totally getting off track here, but I think
No,
the answer.
I honestly, Tag, I don't think we are. I think this speaks to the virtuosity of our society, and how do we regain that, so we can elect virtuous leaders.
Unfortunately, G, I don't think that we as a people have the stomach to do what it's going to take. And it's not what people think I'm going to say about right here. I'm talking about betting everything you have on freedom and getting out there and doing for yourself and taking accountability for yourself and providing for yourself, and not taking the handout, not taking the easy money, not taking the, you pull up to a line and Harvesters is out there giving away free food. Are you needy? Yes or no? If you're not, what are you doing there? That's my point. We as a people have to take a moral stand, but I don't think we have it in us. I just don't. A few.
Okay. Well, and I'm sitting here, I'm trying to process that, because I have absolutely no problem going to Harvesters. I have absolutely no problem doing that, because that food's going to go to waste if we don't take it. And we go out and we get that food, and we get it for ourselves and several other families, a couple of which that, and we give them that food. And
yeah, my point, Garen, wasn't Harvesters. My point was, we have to figure out a way to take a moral stand, just like what all of these principles talk about, to take a stand and say, hey, just because it's easy doesn't make it right. Like, when can we as a people stand up? But that was maybe a bad example. I really don't. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, let me back up. Let me tell you a story real quick.
You just happen to choose the one example that really hit home with me.
Yeah, well, it's okay, bud. Let me tell you a little story. So I was pulling up to a middle school to drop my middle son off, who's now 25 years old. And we pulled up, and they were handing out food for the needy. And I don't know if it was Harvesters or somebody else. But anyway, so I pulled up down the line to drop him off. And this lady comes up to the door and says, here, gave me this form to sign, and says, then you'll pull up in the next row, and we'll put food in your car. I said, okay. So I read down, and right on it said, this is for the needy. It said right there, this is for the needy. That's what it said. And so I was in a moral position. I felt like I was in a moral position right there with my son to teach a lesson. And I said, dude, our refrigerator's full. We're not needy. Therefore, I don't want your food. And I told the lady, no, thank you. And I'm not needy. And this says it's for needy. And she says, but wait, you can have it. It's free. No, it ain't free. Wait, no, it's not free. I pay for it. I pay for it with my taxes. I pay for it. I pay for it. I pay for it. So maybe I picked the wrong example, but my point is it's not going to change until we as a people stand up and say no. None of the above. We have, that's the only answer. And we're not going to do it because we're not virtuous and we don't have morals.
Yeah, you know what? You're convicting me, man. You're convicting me.
I know.
I don't know if I
I've
like
already
this
taken
or
the red
not.
pill.
I don't know if I like this or not, but you're convicting me. No, that's good, man. That you know what? We need to be challenged at every turn.
Oh,
We
sure.
really do. We really do, because that's the
Well,
only way.
discord is healthy, Garen.
Yes.
It's fine, you know. Anyway, I rail this, bud, but you get me all talking about politics and the two-party system. It's such a scam. The powers that be choose the candidates, and we get to choose pick from two.
Yeah.
You can give me the bullshit about the primaries, but that's all bullshit. They pick it, they fund the one they want to fund it with your taxpayer dollars. They fund it and they build up who they want to, so that they have, well, one guy's going to steal $1 from me, one guy's going to steal 85 cents. Better vote for the 85-cent guy.
Well, and that, you know what, your argument there is absolutely correct. And it's, I think it's more pertinent at the federal level than it is at the local level, just because we've got more control at the local level. And Tag, I've always been one of those guys. I was gonna fill something in on every single box. And I'm telling you what, after the last election, if the person at the top of the box is not somebody that I would vote for in the primary, I'm not voting. I will leave that box blank. I will fill everything in down below it. And you know what? It goes back to electing somebody that's virtuous. If I don't think that person's virtuous, I'm not going to vote for him. And anybody out there in that's watching this video can say, well, you're just throwing your vote away. No, I'm not. I'm taking a stand. And when I go to bed on November 2nd, whatever year it is, I know that I will have cast a vote that I am morally secure in. Unlike every single year up until I have voted every year or in every election since 1986. I voted in every election, no matter what. I've always voted for the lesser of two evils. No more.
And you accepted it.
Exactly. I accepted it. No more. I am no longer voting for the lesser of two evils. And if that means that a would-be tyrant gets into office, then we'll deal with it. The Constitution gives us recourse. We have the ability to affect that after the fact, and that's something we don't need to talk about here because it's not pertinent to the conversation. But we have recourse.
Yeah, well, and Garen, I think no matter who you vote for, you're putting a tyrannic leader in there. Pick one. You could throw a dart and have the same outcome.
Okay.
Richard Pryor fan?
In principle, I'm going to disagree with you. In practice, recently, I cannot disagree. But in principle, I'm going to disagree with you.
Are you a Richard Pryor fan, G?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So what we all need to do as a people is we need to go watch the movie Brewster's Millions. And in Brewster's Millions, he ran a campaign where everybody voted for none of the above. I'll vote.
Yep.
None of the above. Or could you imagine if we successfully elected Mickey Mouse?
Oh, they wouldn't allow it.
Oh, I'd love it. Oh, how amazing would it be? I mean, you're right. It would never even come up. But
yeah, but all this conversation goes back to the morality of the society, the individual, and then electing virtuous leaders. Okay,
I'm going to start a Mickey Mouse campaign.
Okay, folks, sorry about the cut there. We ran out of time. Tag and I were having a conversation offline, and we wanted to bring it here because I think it's a really good conversation. So the thing is, we, like I said, we participate in harvesters, and he specifically mentioned that, and I didn't take exception to it. It kind of hit close to home, and I told him I struggle with that morally. I really do. I really had to think about it long and hard. And my point was that the food from harvesters, and we're talking about harvesters specifically, we're not talking about any other program, okay? That food is donated by a private organization, and I I do the first Friday every month. I help hand out harvesters food, and like I said, we go through the line and we collect for several different families, and we take this food to these people that are much needier than we are,
Mhm,
and that's how I have justified it to myself.
mhm.
Um, Tag made a counterpoint to that. Tag, go ahead and start the conversation.
Yeah, I don't I don't want this to come across like I'm looking down or because anything. Harvesters is a great program, and if needy people are being helped out, that's exactly what should be happening. Now it should be happening local at the harvester level or the community level instead of the federal level. But I think also that, and I don't know all of this, but I would imagine those companies you talk about, these private companies, like, and I gave the example earlier. The Federal Reserve is a private company, but these private companies donate this food. They then get subsidized one way or the other, either through a tax break or through whatever. And I use the example of the little kid with rotten teeth, and you give him another piece of candy because, well, it makes him happy. I'm not going to participate in it. And the way out of all of this, and as you and I talked about before, is going Galt. And I went Galt a long time ago. I took my production out. I don't invest in the stock market, and I come from that world. I don't do those things anymore. I invest in me. I invest in all kinds of things that help me, live a little bit freer and do those kind of things. So I just think we need to be cautious of what we're participating in, whether it's harvesters or anything else. Are we part of the problem? Are we continuing the cycle? Are we showing these people that it works? Oh, keep doing this. This works. This is a great program. Look at all these health people that are needy. And you yourself mentioned a town that harvesters comes through, and then the people, whatever they don't want, they leave it out on the curb. If they can leave a little bit of food out on the curb, they're not needy. Just
Absolutely,
my opinion.
absolutely correct.
Just my opinion.
Absolutely correct. And like I said, we go through it, and yes, we get the food for us. And I made the point to Tag, why can't I get some of the money back that I paid into it?
Mhm.
And I don't feel guilty about getting some of the money I put back into it. Even if they are getting subsidies, that makes it even better. I know that stuff is going to go to waste, but you made a comment about that's part of the problem is they entice people in, and if they don't partake in the program, they're going to throw it away. The government,
Right.
the system is going to throw it away.
Right. Right. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to say that, hey, look, I get a little piece of it back. That's what keeps the program going.
Yeah.
They want you to do that. We as a people have got to stand up and say enough's enough. I mean, just talk about welfare, the harvesters, or any of those kind of things. That stuff should all be handled at the local level, right? Harvesters, private companies, local companies, they're going out and doing this. The government should have nothing in it. I'm 100% for charity. I'm 100% for welfare for the needy. But that's not how it works today. I'm not going to participate in those kind of things. But in fairness, but I participate in all kinds of things that furthers tyranny and furthers corruption because I can't figure out how to get out of them yet, right?
Yeah.
But if I could, I certainly would.
Well, and here's the flip side of that. If I'm going to sit here and defend an organization like Harvesters or some other organization like that, I need to go out, I need to do more research. I realized during the conversation offline that I need to go learn more about it. And if I'm going to defend it, I need to be able to sit here and speak with some definitive confidence that what is happening is happening. Because I honestly, I can't tell you how much subsidies harvesters getting before it. Is it taxpayer supported? As far as I know, no. But to be honest, I'm not really sure.
Mhm.
So I need to go out and educate myself. And I think our conversation there, I think that's probably the most important thing to take away from it is as citizens, we need to start educating ourselves. And if we have to go gulp
Mhm.
and we have to take everything out of the system,
Mhm.
then that's what we need to do. You know?
Yeah, and I want to make sure that we clarify here. I think Harvesters is a wonderful program. And I know that times are super tough right now for a lot of families, and these services provide an essential part of their life. And I encourage it. Not only do I encourage it, but I would participate in it. In the aspect of handing it out, Garen, like you do. Hats off to you for doing it. I have no problem with any of that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think people who are not needy, who stand in that line, are contributing to the system in a poor way. That's what I think.
Okay. Fair enough.
you know, but I'm not down on it at all. And Garen, my hats off to you for,
Well, no,
for
no,
standing there and doing it.
so I worked at a major hospital in an urban area for about 17 years. And we had clinics, oh gosh, what were they? Not the Head Start clinics, but they were the prenatal and all those clinics. I was out there working at one of the remote locations one day. These people drove up in a $65,000 truck,
Mhm.
got out, came in, and partook in a program that paid them money to take care of their kids.
Mhm.
Now, the whole time this is going on, I'm working 80 hours a week to support my family, and I'm still not giving them the life that I want to give them. But these people had a truck that was worth twice as much as the house I lived in. So
Mhm.
yes, I understand where you're coming from, and I completely agree with you in that part. And if I'm going to sit here and defend Harvesters or another organization like that, then I damn well better educate myself and make sure that they're not doing what you say they're doing, or not. No, that wasn't right. That wasn't the right way to put it. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I'm not saying they're doing anything. All I'm saying is if you're not needy, don't take from the needy, because we're talking about morals and virtues of leaders and of the populace to elect virtuous leaders. And if you're going to be virtuous, you got to be virtuous. You can't just talk the talk.
Right.
You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. And then the other side to that also, which I think adds that in there too, is that by participating in those programs, we're teaching our leaders, our kings, our Caesars, we're teaching them which programs work and which ones don't work, so they can pat each other on the back, so they can quote some numbers at some congressional hearing about how wonderful it is, why they need $2 billion more dollars, so they can pad the pocket linings of the lobbyists and their constituents and the people in their districts. We're part of the problem.
Yep. Okay, folks, this is my promise to you. By next Thursday when we record this, I will do more research. I will either be able to sit here and defend my position on this thing, or I will walk away from it.
You're a great man, Garen.
Either way, by the next time Tag and I record, I will have an answer for me personally. All
Yeah,
right.
hey, G, by the way, I got a question for you.
What's that?
You know this beautiful hat that I have that says "Free Man."
Uh-huh.
You have one too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Now, what are you dependent on?
What am I dependent on?
Yeah, are you? Does going to Harvesters make you freer?
No, well,
We can go on. I'm just picking on you, man.
no. That's a good question.
Mhm.
I will have an answer next week.
Yep.
I will
You're
have
a
an
good
answer
man,
next
bud.
week.
You're a good
I
man,
am
and I
not
applaud you.
I am not prepared to give an answer right now. Dude, you're such a troublemaker. Seriously,
I know I am.
you take that big old stick and you stir it.
Yep. It's in my nature. I mean, I can't
Yeah.
help it.
Okay, now, so we've gone through the second and the third principles, and both those principles, seriously, they talked about the morals and values of the people and the people that they elect
Mhm.
into it. So we've got time. So let's go into the fourth principle right now.
Okay.
Right. So the fourth principle that they list out says, without religion, the government of a free people cannot be maintained.
Mhm.
All right. And here's, I read that, and the question that popped into my mind at the very first of it was, why is religion a must for maintaining the government of a free people?
Mhm.
Right. Why? And admittedly, I look at it from a Christian standpoint. And when you say religion, I think of Christian sex. Goes back to the very first principle that we talked about. If they meant Christianity, they would have said Christianity. Instead, they talked about the God, the supreme judge.
Right.
They talked about it. So when we say religion, we're not talking about a specific sect. We're talking about religion.
Well, actually, I think you can break this down further. So let's just take this first sentence and pull 3 words out of it. Okay. Religion, government, and free.
Okay.
Right. Which are the key building blocks. So could you also not say rules, guidance, and choice? Because without religion, without the morals of making good choices, nothing will stand.
Yeah.
If your choices are poor and you are going to, rape, pillage, steal, if you're going to do all of those things, nothing's going to stand. So to me, what this says is without the rules, religion, right? The government, the guidance, and the freedom of choice. I think this really the issue here is without what guides someone's decision-making process.
Well,
without religion, it falls.
And knowing what we know about the founding fathers, when they say religion, I think that they meant a guiding principle.
Yeah.
A guiding principle. And most people find that through some sort of religion. I don't want to say organized religion because that's got a really bad connotation. But if you're looking for a higher power, that's a better way to put it. Without a higher power regulating our morals and values, would you get attacked by a
dude?
fly?
Yeah, I got my window open and a wasp just flew and landed right on my forearm.
Oh, not cool. Not cool.
It was a drone.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, they were checking on me.
Okay. The UN said we're not supposed to spread conspiracy theories, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
They started waging war on it, quote unquote. No. But I honestly think what this says is without a higher power guiding our moralities, that we can't secure something that's going to keep people free.
Mm-hmm. They say that we have the freedom to choose whatever we want, but we're not free of the consequences of our choices. Those consequences in that statement, which is a super powerful statement, but those consequences is the guiding principles of religion.
Right. Well, and I found a quote from George Washington that I had never seen before, and I thought it was really pertinent. It goes, let's see, of all of the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. Mm-hmm. And let us, with caution, indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. He says it right there, without some higher power guiding us. And it doesn't matter what that higher power is. You can be a Taoist, you can be a Buddhist, you can be a Christian. Without some higher power guiding us, we won't make the right decisions.
And I think that's a 90% truth. Okay. I mean, I think there are atheists out there, because I've met some who are outstanding human beings who wouldn't steal from you, who wouldn't lie to you, who wouldn't cheat you. But that's obviously the minority. That's not the
well,
that would be the exception.
Here's my counterpoint to that. And yes, I've known some atheists that are really good people. The problem is when it comes down to making moral choices and deciding what's right or wrong, to the atheist, and if there's any atheists out there, I'm not going to apologize for what I'm about to say. You are the person that makes the ultimate judgment. Mm-hmm. And the only thing guiding you is you. And if I believe what I believe as a Christian, that everybody is a flawed human being, ultimately you're going to make the wrong decision. At the very end of it all, you're going to make the wrong decision without any guidance from above or a higher power.
Well, I think, but isn't it true also, Garen, that with the guidance of that higher power, we still make bad decisions?
Oh no, absolutely correct. Yeah. Absolutely correct.
So I guess my only point to this is I don't think that it's impossible to have morality without, I think you can have it without religion. I just think it's super rare, and not many people are built that way. Not many people can handle that without that guiding, thing. But
okay. I will accept that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's true because if I don't accept it, I can't explain those people that I do know that aren't religious
Hmm.
that but at the end of the day though, they're relying on themselves,
Hmm.
and in my book, it's a very dangerous precedence.
Well, and I think there's some things in there too that gets missed out on. In my opinion, religion not only creates hope, but also it lessens the severity of the ultimate punishment. Right? It says that, hey, because I'm spiritual, because I believe in God, if I take a stand here and I give my life for it, I got a better place I'm going to.
Right.
Right. Which I think, whether you believe or you don't believe, I think either way that helps guide a government and virtuous leaders. We talk about in all of these other things to being able to make good decisions because it lessens that severity um, in it. Then I think also by believing in a higher power, it also, I think, people are more likely to follow the rules. The basic principles of life. Don't do this, don't do that. If they believe in a higher power, than if they don't believe in a higher power.
And I think what you just said right there is the crux of the fourth principle.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I think that's what it is.
Yep.
And there's we've all got a God-shaped hole in our soul, and we
Mm-hmm.
we fill it with what we can. And if
Mm-hmm.
we fill it with the wrong stuff,
Yeah.
we make bad decisions. And I
Yeah.
and I you know I say that as a Christian, but I've only been a Christian for about 10 years. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a born again. I professed it, but I never lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm terrible at it every single day. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. I do a terrible job every day. People, please don't use my life as a guidance for the way you should live yours. You know, but I think you know what, this conversation has been great, and I told you before we came on that these next three principles all tied into each other.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and as a people, we need to be morally sound. We need to elect morally sound leaders. And then the only way that we can make sure that we're morally sound is by seeking some sort of higher power. And that's not, I'm gonna defer to what Tag said. That's not saying that you have to believe in God or whatever, but we need to look outside ourselves in order to maintain that.
Mhm.
Because if we look into ourselves, just it's not going to end well, people. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think just to add to that, I think we as a people need to stand up and quit being selfish and self-centered, and we need to stand up and say enough's enough, and we need to stand up and put, those, principles, about, God and about the higher creator. I mean, at the end of the day, our Constitution was written after the Ten Commandments in a lot of ways, right?
Mhm.
And I know the founding fathers, who were majority of them, Christian, looked at it through Christian eyes, as we talked about in our last video. But they set out and said, hey, these universal truths, apply to everybody,
Yes. Yeah.
regardless of what religion you come to. And I think a good Christian is a tolerant Christian, and is accepting, of everybody out there.
Exactly. And the way that we address this issue is we start thinking local. And
Mhm.
I know I sound like a broken record when I talk about it, but we can't gain control of it unless we start locally.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. Jordan Peterson says, "Make your bed." So
Mm-hmm.
let's make our bed every morning. And once we make our bed, we go out and we try to affect our community. And um, once we get control of our community, sure, our local community has no chance against the federal government. But what happens when we've got our community and the community next to us, the circle next to us, and the next circle, and we're all pointing in the same direction? Um, I hate using this. I hate using this example because of the connotation that people are going to take out of it. But do you know what a fascine is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a fascine is if you take an arrow, a wooden arrow, you can snap it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you take two wooden arrows and stick them together. It's harder to snap. You take a great big bundle of arrows and try to snap it, you cannot snap it. And that's a fascine. Whenever you take take that group of sticks or arrows or whatever, and you bind them together as one group, it's harder to break. And that's what we're doing with our community. We're taking all these people in our communities and we're binding them together and we're pointing them in the same direction, and we're making it so it's harder to break. And once we get our community all pointing in the same direction, we get another community and get them pointing the same direction, and we bind ourselves together that way. And that goes directly into your circles thing about building a community that you guys talked about on your 4-part series or 5-part series or however many it was. You know, we're binding each other together, and we're pointing in the same direction, and we're making it harder for the powers that be to break us. You know, because quite honestly, if I got people standing shoulder to shoulder with me when I'm taking a stand, it's a hell of a lot easier to take a stand than when I'm doing it by myself. You know?
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting statement. Take a stand, and G, you and I both know a fair amount about this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've lived it. We have personally walked down this road, and it's interesting as I, think about that. And to me, I think when someone says take a stand, they got this envision of this, guy standing at the top of this hill, kind of leaning forward, standing on the hill. But, to me, Bud, taking a stand is about not participating in the system anymore.
Absolutely.
Not playing the game anymore. And whether that's the the easy credit game, which is super easy. I mean, this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever it is, or all the way back to our original conversation with harvesters. But all of these things, trying to get gulped, trying to get out of and take your productivity somewhere else, and maybe back just to that local community. Take that productivity back to that local community. I think we can really make a dent between your statement of get involved locally and my statement of let's go.
I agree. And I think that points directly back to all 3 of the principles we covered tonight. We can't address those 3 principles unless we do that at a local level.
Yep.
Well, Tag, this was a fun conversation. I got you fired up. You got me fired up.
Yeah. You get me fired up easy. Like it don't take much.
I know. It just takes a little stick to go boink.
Yeah. You talk about
react
in the pot. You got the poking stick.
You react so well, but quite honestly, you deserve it for everything you put me through with my wife.
Yeah, I know, and I have so much fun with that.
Yep, and she enjoys it.
I know.
As much as she complains, she enjoys it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this is a great conversation. I will meet again next week. Are you going to be on tomorrow night? I'm going to try to put this up tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central. And I'm going to do it as a premiere because we did it last week and people seem to really enjoy the chat.
Oh, good.
So
I'm actually, we have a live, B and I are going live tomorrow at 7, I think.
Okay, well, I'll do it at 5. So you can, if you got time to pop in there and say hi to everybody and goad them on, poke them, stir their pots the way you do mine and Angela's.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you guys ever think that maybe I stir the pot because you guys have a sharp poking stick? Just asking. I mean,
why? Maybe.
It's good, man.
Folks, I really hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed it, share it out with somebody. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and hit that notification bell if you liked it, because we're gonna try to do this every Friday. We'll post it every Friday, hopefully, best we can, until we're done with the conversation, and then we'll start a new one. I don't know what we'll talk about, but whatever it is, it'll definitely be freedom orientated, and it'll definitely cause Tag to get some hate mail. No, I think he locked up on me. Anyway, everybody, listen, go out. You can find this on Tag's channel. You can find it on our channel. Are you back?
Yep, you're back. You're the one that froze.
I'm recording, so I'm not. I'm recording, so I'm not the one that froze.
Well, we'll see what happens when you watch the recording.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, if I froze, I'll edit it out.
Yeah, you're good, man.
No, I was just telling people if they enjoyed it, share it out, hit the notification bell. They can find it on your channel, on my channel, or Angela and I's channel. Leave comments, folks. Listen, I don't know about Tag. I love hearing from you guys, man,
Mhm.
especially when it's something like this. We want to get you guys thinking. The only way we make this better is if we start thinking and we start acting. All right.
Mhm.
Tag, you got anything you want to close with?
Yeah, so typically I tell everybody to live a little bit further today than they did yesterday. Hold the line, don't give an inch, tag out. But I want to add two more today, which is vote for none of the above and let's everybody go golf.
Let's do it, folks. All right. Go live a life done free, people. Take
Yeah.
care.
See you guys.
Thanks, Milo.